Welcome to Empower Hair, the Help We Need podcast, where we explore topics that empower women and support their well-being. I'm your host, Fumike Morunkeji, and in today's episode, we shall be continuing with the career pillar discussion, where we're taking a dive into the workplace to address the topic of the manager. In this third episode, we shall focus on the management and us. We're looking at things from the lens of you as either an employee or manager. That is, whether you're an individual contributor or a manager of people working in an organization where toxic behavior is demonstrated amongst employees. So in a nutshell, your organization, consciously or unconsciously, permits a work culture that is not healthy. Now, what do I mean by work culture that is not healthy? Or what do I mean by toxic work environment? So I'll explain. A toxic work environment is a colloquial metaphor to describe a place of work, usually an office environment, is marked by significant personal conflicts between those who work there. Does that sound familiar? There are some typical questions, however, that arise as a result of this situation. And such questions are, why does management never address our concerns? Why is there so much favoritism in promotions and assignments? Or why do I feel so undervalued and unappreciated in this organization? Now, while I agree that not all organizations have these types of questions popping up, most organizations do. And our goal today is to have this difficult conversation around this difficult situation. So if you're wondering how to navigate this dilemma, first of all, I will say it's not new, even though it's not a license to say it's okay. But at least you know you're not the only one dealing with it. Also, I think it's helpful to note that no organization is perfect. It is people like you and me, that make up an organization. So the way we behave towards one another and what we permit is what makes the environment conducive or not conducive. So in today's episode, we shall get to explore a bit more about how to address some of the concerns you may have, especially as women trying to get by in this situation. And hopefully, the insights I'll be providing today will help you in creating a healthier and more supportive work environment for yourself. So as typical, I would like to address the question of your emotions. How are you feeling in this situation? And I know for some of you, I could hear words like, I feel frustrated, I feel demoralized, I feel demotivated, and frankly, I don't put in any extra effort aside from, what I've been told to do. Just the basics, and that's it. No more, no less. My response to you would be, I get you. And your response could be, how? Because at some point in my career as well, I experienced the same thing. I mean, let's be honest, most of us do, if not all of us. Some of us may not be talking about it or sharing what we think or how we feel about it. And some of us may be expressing our concerns to whomever will listen. However, all of us in the work environment are doing one thing. We're either experiencing the toxic work environment for ourselves, or we're observing it with others, or we are listening to the information that is being shared with us directly or through someone else. So, if you're looking for a way out, or at least how to navigate this situation, then please stay tuned in as I help you explore ways to navigate this issue, which is our main goal here. And I hope you can benefit from some few tips that I will be sharing with you today. So first, let's check our understanding of what a toxic culture feels like. And I'll be using the explanation of the term confinement. Now, we all knew what happened during COVID, right? In the early days of COVID, or when it was really eating home, that we're all confined to our homes. So, to be confined means to be restricted to a place without any necessary means of escape. Confinement, interestingly, comes in three main ways. Physical confinement, and this literally means, as an employee, you're confined to a space, such as being in an office with no escape, because for now, there's no other job to go. And this job is paying your bills. So you know that you're in this environment, you don't like the culture, you don't like the behavior of employees within the environment, it's not aligned with your values. But hey, you've been searching as of today, as of now, no job. So to keep body and soul together, you have to stay put, you have to stay where you are. And confinement could be in the physical sense. Your manager or your supervisor is forcing you to stay late over and over and over again. So in a sense, the work culture in your organization prevents you from leaving work at a decent hour when you should leave. Maybe the boss is still in the office. We can't go until the boss goes. Sounds familiar? Well, it does to me. So our second type of confinement is emotional confinement. And this is where an employee feels trapped emotionally and, you can't say what you mean or you can't mean what you say because of fear of retaliation or speaking out against toxic behavior. And it could mean that if you said something or see something, you will not be supported by management if you speak up. And that could include not getting a raise, not being promoted, being segregated, whatever that means. And, you're aware, you've seen it happen to people, and you don't want it to happen to you. So in essence, you keep quiet. And the third type of confinement is social confinement. And in this situation, you're basically isolated from other colleagues, either through activities, that you should take part of. That could mean not being selected for a project or maybe allowed to go on business travels, that ideally, you should be the one going and not someone else. And for obvious reasons, you are not selected to go. And sometimes people could be asking in those situations, why are you not on the project? We thought you had a better experience. Or why didn't you join the team to travel to XYZ? And sometimes to save face, you may respond like, oh yes, I was supposed to go, but there was another important project going on that I had to take care of. And ultimately, you find yourself sometimes even lying just to save face. So it comes to a point in your career where you really feel like there is no space to thrive. And in other words, social confinement could also mean that the culture in the workspace prohibits, open collaborative activities or communications. because it's not encouraged. And in that type of setting, you don't speak to authority, you only listen to authority and do what authority simply tells you. The impact really is, if you're going through any of these types of confinement, whether it's physical confinement, emotional confinement, or social confinement, it does the following to you. 1, your engagement level drops. So this is a closed sign because not everybody sees it, and it would definitely lead to lower performance, or you could ultimately say, you know what, I quit, I'm resigning, and that's it. And in most parts is when employees start resigning that it becomes open, right? And it becomes obvious that something is wrong with the organizational culture, especially when a lot of people are resigning. And then we say, oh, the attrition rate in this organization is very high. And another indicator in terms of impact is mental health. At some point, it's going to an alarming level. So that means you're constantly anxious to go to work or about work, you feel depressed, or you're experiencing burnout due to work-related matters, which may very well make you feel obviously less satisfied with your job, and in turn reduces your own productivity. And on the contrary, or ironically, it gets noticed, and then maybe your manager starts complaining you are not performing. And the most obvious signs these days is strained relationships. So there's a lot of conflict going on between members of your team, your department, and you're involved in it. Or just conflicts generally within the organization. You know, the trust level has completely flown out of the window. So it makes you or your fellow employees feel isolated. You know, there's no team spirit, there's no collaboration. Everybody's minding their turf. This is my turf, that's your turf, you know, everyone mind your territory, face your business, do your own thing. And in a sense, it seems as if obviously there's unhealthy competition within the organization. And this really, just listing all these things is demotivating, it's depressing. But I do have some good news. And I assume you're wondering, good news? There is nothing good about what you've just said, but there is. And that's why I left it to you now. Remember, our goal is to figure out what we are going to do about it. So now that we've recognized the situation, or you recognize the situation for what it really is, and now it's impacting you, which obviously could be the behavior that is toxic within your team, your organization, I have some few tips that can empower you to check what is in your control, so you can explore the possibilities within that frame, and hopefully this helps you maintain your well-being. So our first tip is awareness and acknowledgement. Now, I think the first important thing is to be able to recognize the type of confinement that you're being confronted with. What is directly impacting you? Because you cannot be everything to everyone. And if there is a scale of problems going on within the organization, you can't solve everything. You need to be able to break things into simple components and just figure out right now what is the most pressing issue that impacts me, that impacts you. What does that mean for you? And once you're able to identify that, then it prompts you to raise discussions about the need for change. So for example, if you have a manager that is open to reason, you may present your concerns based obviously on concrete facts and possible solutions that you're considering. Say, if there is a lack of team spirit within the team, you can raise the issue on a one-on-one with your manager and highlight the potential or advantage to doing things collaboratively. and how that would invariably support your business or drive return on investment for the organization. Now, no sane manager would listen to you and push you back. Every organization is looking to be productive. Every manager wants to perform. So if you're having this conversation with your manager, I think it's very important not just to say this is the problem, or you should have done your own work, buttressing your facts. This is the problem. This is what I think would be helpful for us to resolve the problem. So I believe the example of maybe there's no team cohesion could be something that can resonate with you. The second tip would be empowerment. Now, we've talked about identifying what is impacting you and how it's affecting you. So that's something that really resonates with you. But I think more importantly is, how are you going to wisely seek for help in resolving the matter? And one of those ways you could seek for help is consider people in the organization that are movers and shakers. You could refer to such individuals as influencers or sponsors, people that are credible, well-known. And you could have those conversations with the individual or those individuals, to raise certain issues that you consider are negatively impacting your work, and hopefully getting their buy-in so that you can work through them to help advocate for a change. You can also consider other subtle options like whistleblowing, provided your organization has an open door policy where you can report issues anonymously, so it is raised to senior management or global leaders for them to pay attention. That's another way to go about it. Now, our third tip for today is mental wellness. And what do I mean by this? I mean, sometimes when the environment is charged within your organization, or you just feel that the work is intense, there's nothing stopping you from asking for a break. And I know sometimes some of us feel like I would be considered as a low performer or not serious. I mean, a one-day leave will not do any harm, right? So leveraging a one-day, two-day leave to attend to personal issues obviously shouldn't be on a frequent basis, but you could use your outstanding leave days to take a break, stay off work. If you are sick, for example, don't come to office. Take a day off, take a sick break, take care of yourself. And another option, at least for some of us who are working in organizations where there is, the support for employee assistance program, we call it EAP, and that's probably coming under your health insurance scheme or what have you. You could leverage those resources. They're free. Leverage those resources to speak to counselors, to speak to psychologists, that are trained, that can help support with your feelings of anxiety, depression, what have you, because as a result of maybe the work overload or conflicts at work. Use those resources to manage your well-being. Now, after all has been said and done, and you still observe that there is no positive change, I mean, the situation doesn't improve despite your best efforts, and you no longer can tolerate it, given the impact on your mental health, my advice would be that you explore other job opportunities within your current location. And if that's not visible, explore opportunities outside your current location, right? So it's either you do this and take some action, or you don't do anything and get some reaction, which may ultimately not go down well with you. Remember, you can't be everything to everybody, and you cannot solve all the problems in the workplace. all the problems that you've identified in your company, you shouldn't put that squarely on your own shoulders. So it's best you take a bite of the food. That's the problem, I mean, one at a time, as opposed to attempting to swallow the whole plate. If you take a little bite and you address those things that are really impacting you, that is a more effective strategy and a better way for you to go about it. Also, please remember that the strength of you is seen in your ability to be able to read between the lines and act smoothly. No one can subject you to misery unless you give them the power to do so. So it's either you are complicit by remaining silent, or you simply don't act and you don't do anything about it. By cultivating self-awareness, employing strategic navigation, because you need to find your way around this situation, and leveraging smart communication skills, I believe you can improve your work relationship and you can contribute to a healthier you, even within your current not so good organizational climate. So I know not one size fits all, but the most important thing about this topic is you. You need to do what's best for you. You need to take care of yourself. I hope these insights have been helpful. Please leave a review or share your thoughts and let me know. And if you still need further support or information, please feel free to contact me for a coaching call, and I'll do my best to help you through the situation. Continue to stay tuned in to the Help We Need podcast to live your best life. Don't forget to stay empowered and remember to empower her.